What is up, guys? Taiki here, and this video is sponsored by... Just kidding. Come on, guys. I'm not down that bad. I'm not gonna have advertisements. But I think I got you guys. But anyways, the markets have been pretty crazy, right? I mean, I feel like as crypto participants, we kind of mentally prepare ourselves for like periods like this. But the past couple of days, right, with like Netflix going down 25% overnight, and then the crypto market just take a huge dump on Friday and Saturday. Like the markets are green today, but that's because it was like it's a new day, I guess, 4 p.m. Pacific time. But the markets are down pretty bad, right? It is what it is. And I feel like this is like why it always pays to be humble, right? Always have a stablecoin stack. Being super exposed is fine when things are going up, but on the way down, there's a major liquidity crunch. Right, and during these liquidity crunches, people just want fiat, people just want stablecoins, people want to go into safety. And what are the easiest assets to sell? Well, farm tokens and altcoins, right? Like people would rather like sell altcoins and farm tokens than liquidating their Bitcoin and Ether, right? Because at least Bitcoin and Ether can be collateralizable assets. It's like a safe haven. Even though Bitcoin is like down, even though Bitcoin and Ether, they're both down like 50%. It is what it is, right? And hopefully, even if you got wrecked, I'm down too. I'm like down. I'm not down that bad, but it's still like not that fun to lose money. I would say that this is a bear market, right? It is a bear market, and I feel like a lot of people confuse bear markets for what they're actually worth, or what it actually means. I think people just assume the bear market is something like this goes down like minus 80-90% in a straight line, right? I mean, not a straight line, but like a year and a half period where it just like goes down. I don't really think that's going to happen, at least for Bitcoin and Ether, right? For these altcoins, like anything can happen. So most of these things are going to go to zero. But I think for Bitcoin and Ether, they're at this point, they're institutional assets, they're macro assets. I don't think they're going to go down 80%. I don't think they're going to get down to 20K, to be honest. Maybe in the worst case, like mid to higher 20Ks. But in the 30K region, I'll probably be bidding Bitcoin Ether pretty hard. Maybe Ether is like at 2K at that point. There's a popular saying, bull markets make you money, bear markets make you rich, right? And if crypto volatility is too much for you and you kind of want to take maybe like a month or two off, I think that's totally fine. But I think the people that are going to make just good money on the next run, whether that's 3 months, 9 months, like 18 months from now here, those people that are going to be most well off are going to be people that stick around and just do the research, right? I mean, I think a lot of people just called a bunch of crypto people like lucky right here, right? Like in late 2020, like early 2021. But it took a conviction to buy at these levels. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't part of the bear market in 2018 and 19. I entered the markets around like mid 2020. But crypto isn't luck, right? I mean, these moments are pretty hard, and I don't fault anyone for leaving the space, because the volatility is pretty insane, right? I'm kind of numb to the volatility, right? Playing poker has kind of handled me to like deal with these swings. But looking at my metrics, I think it's pretty important. I think there's an important point to realize right here, is that like first of all, like the May growth has been pretty insane, right? I didn't notice at the time, right? Because I had nothing to compare myself against, right? I had like 50 views per day in like March and stuff. I just thought like my channel was doing well, and like this is like normal. But obviously in hindsight, this was a crazy bubble, right? There was like so much money coming to the space, like dog coins are going up. But if you look at, I guess, the post crash metrics, there's like not that much new money coming to the space, right? I mean, I'm sure there's like new money, but it's not like the net inflows into crypto, I don't think is like that much. And this is what I call like the PvP markets, like player versus player, where it's a pretty rough environment to be in, because I mean 99% of crypto projects, coins, they're inflationary, right? Even Bitcoin and Ether, which we think is like hard asset, like whatever, like Ether is money or like Bitcoin is sound money, whatever. They're still inflationary, right? At least at this point. So on average, if there's no new money coming to the space, I mean the average coin is going to go down, right? The market cap might stay the same, but the coin's like price might go down. That's an important point to realize. I guess the point is, I don't think we're going to enter a bullish phase for a while. And I think that, if you do stick around, I think you're going to be better off whenever we have a leg up in the future. Okay. And I kind of want to go over this interesting thread by Rune, right? So Rune is the founder of MakerDAO. Obviously MakerDAO and DAI, right? DAI is an over-collateralized stablecoin, and Maker has these vaults. And some DAI, most, I guess like most DAI, it's backed by USDC and ETH. And of course, if there's like some DAI that's backed by ETH, and if ETH goes down enough, people could get liquidated, right? And this was really scary yesterday, where Rune said, hey, like Maker, like whoever this guy is, if this guy doesn't save his vault, like we're gonna liquidate $600 million worth of ETH, right? And he kind of referred to like the 7 siblings guy. Like it's probably an institution, right? I can't really imagine any individual that's not like affiliate, that wasn't like a seed investor or like an investor in Maker, like putting $600 million into ETH, right? That seems awfully capital inefficient. Probably an institution. This guy probably got fired, right? Whoever was managing this. But I was like, hey, like better watch out, right? It'd be like $65 million of ETH sold every 30 minutes, right? This guy, he still didn't wake up, or like whatever, like he didn't have internet or something. It's gonna start to sell. Finally, like some hours later, the guy woke up. Only $65 million was triggered so far. The rest might be rescuable. And then, the guy saved his vaults or whatever, right? So, $65 million worth of ETH liquidated. And this is like a battle test moment, right? It's like, can DeFi hold up in this type of environment? And ETH is doing well, Avalanche is doing well, but some chains are doing well, but obviously some chains went down, right? I mean, notably Solana is down bad, right? I mean, look at this chart. I mean, it's still like what is this chart, right? But Solana keeps going down, right? It just keeps going down. I don't really know what that's going to be, but you have to understand that this thing is up a lot, right? And it's not gonna, just because it's down a lot from the top doesn't mean that people aren't still in profits, right? Solana went down, and Harmony also, Harmony was dysfunctional even before the crash, but Harmony also went down. By the way, I bought some miners, right, for DeFi Kingdoms. I'm trying to quest. Sometimes the quest, I can't quest because the chain's down, but and the RPCs are down bad, but even Phantom too, right? Like Phantom, like the devs, it's funny because like the devs kind of like destroyed their own chain because they were kind of upset about like the Weave token, right? Vampire attacking for the Andre VE33 NFT airdrop. They created a new application called 0xDAO, which locked in, I don't even know, like a lot of TVL actually. Let me kind of look that up. Llama, Phantom, yeah, $3.5 million in TVL, but unfortunately it kind of killed their own chain, right? And I tried bridging, but the bridging didn't work. It's you kind of see in these moments like some chains like not function. I'm sure it'll be fixed later, right? But it kind of shows you that like maybe these crypto assets don't really deserve like this crazy valuation, right? Because the chain sometimes does not work, right? And I think Solana is going to take like the brute hit of that, just because it was valued so expensively. And it's funny because I mentioned in like Q3 that like I think Luna is going to be top 5 coin, right? I thought it was going to flip like XRP, Cardano, right? I didn't think it would flip Solana, right? And I think it's going to get there at this point. I think Luna has actually been holding up pretty decently. If you look at this chart, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. And don't get me wrong. I mean, when like December, the first week of January, this thing was at this thing opened at 66 cents, right? So it's still up 100x, even despite the crazy crash. But, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, right? And this top 10 hopefully can be cleaned out for sure, right? At least flip XRP, right? At least kick XRP out the top 10. So it's kind of think about like my outlook, right? My outlook for the rest of the year. I think it's important to rewire your brain and not to look for things that might pump instantly, right? It is what it is. I understand that like a majority of the people, they come into crypto for like the instant dopamine, like they want to see a pump now. But in these moments, you have to understand that like it's going to take a long time for the markets to fix itself, right? We're not going to recover anytime soon, right? Maybe it takes a few months or something. But I think it's important to look to farm or accumulate assets that you're bullish on in the mid to longer term. And by midterm, I mean like, Q2 or something, right? Because crypto moves so fast. And, it's important to understand like what happened just now and then think about, okay, how might the market adapt later? because we've seen like the EVM chains like not like it just like doesn't scale that well, right? When people are trying to pay off their loans or like there's so much activity. And I'm still pretty optimistic on Near, right? And I'm not gonna say Near is gonna like do well in the next like week or a few weeks, right? I said Near I think will do well in Q1 with all the catalysts, and I think they're positioned pretty well for the rest of the year as well. And let's kind of go over like why I think that is. So first of all, there's obviously like the $800 million incentive program. This is worth over $1 billion now. Maybe it's like 1.3 billion or something. It's still coming, right? It's going to be released over the for the next 4 years. But it introduces like sharding, the Nightshade. It's going to be more decentralized by the end of the year, and I think it's important to understand that hey, like maybe the EVM design, right? At least for now, it just doesn't scale that well. Solana, like their proof of history aspect, like maybe it doesn't scale that well, and maybe sharding is like how blockchain can scale. Yeah. And there's this hackathon that's happening for Near. The deadline to submit is February 10th. There's thousands of developers, and I think one thing that's important to realize is that most of my viewers they're based in the U.S., right? So you often hear about like all these hackathons in the U.S. Because Solana is like mainly like a U.S. Blockchain, right? But the majority of investors are based in the U.S. And I think one of the issues that crypto faces is that we're kind of segregated in terms of like the echo chamber we're in. Like for example, Twitter, I think we all use Twitter, and the majority of Twitter users are from the US, right? So we don't really get to see what's happening outside of the US, like in Asia or something, right? Like Binance Smart Chain, for example, like most of the users are in Asia, right? And like people are like why is BSC so good? Like how do they have so much TVL? Well, it's because most of the users are in China, right? And in Asia, and we don't really hear from those people, so we don't really understand like what the hell's happening. And I think Near is based. I mean, like the founders are like a Russian, I believe, and the majority of I think the devs are like Ukrainian or something, right? They're in Europe and also in Asia too. So I think it is important to keep track of these things like this. And I feel like Near, it's the setup for Near is similar to like 2021 early 2021 Solana, where there wasn't that many applications, but there's a bunch of hackathons. There's a lot of developers with a quote-unquote scalable blockchain. We'll see, right? I'm not saying I'm going to be right? I mean, I could be wrong, right? I'm wrong all the time, but you have to kind of think like this, right? You have to think about, okay, like Q1, the latter half of Q1, Q2 and beyond, what kind of applications, what kind of blockchains could gain more adoption? Because sure, like in a bull market, anything you buy just goes up, right? Because there's more inflow, and if there's more money coming to the space, on average, the average coin is going to go up as long as it's not like a scam. But in these types of environments, the fundamentals do matter, and the money market, like it's coming soon. And I kind of want to touch on Trisolaris, right? Just because I talked about this farm, and I'm sure like some people are in it, and maybe they're down. I mean, I didn't sell, by the way, right? So I don't know if that matters, but I did not sell, and the reason I brought up Trisolaris is I consider it to be a value farm, right? And I brought this up when the market cap was roughly $35 million in market cap, right? So I'm bullish on the market cap of Trisolaris, right? I'm not bullish on the price of Trisolaris. I'm bullish on the market cap of Trisolaris, and this is kind of the mindset that you kind of have to build as a farmer, just because this is an inflationary token. If you backtest the market cap of all dexes for ecosystems that aren't purely ghost chains, they do hit like low 9-figure market caps, like roughly $100 to $300 million market cap. So my thesis hasn't changed. It's like price went down, but it hasn't really changed, right? And if you actually look at the market cap of Tri, it's roughly $30 million, right? Even though the price is down a lot. So how can that be? It's because the circulating supply is up to 25 million, right? When I talked about it 2 weeks ago, it was 20 million. So, I'm bullish on the market cap of the Trisolaris. My thesis doesn't change. Is it gonna get there in a few weeks? Probably not, right? It might get there at least 4 weeks from now. But I still consider it to be a value farm, and you kind of have to, or at least this is kind of how I'm thinking about the markets, right? Look for value plays with decent, I guess not fundamentals, but like decent conviction / theses, because in these moments the market is going to really test your conviction, right? Because if you're holding altcoins that you bought because someone told you to buy it, it's like how are you going to hold? How are you going to hold during these downturns? And I wouldn't fault anyone for selling Trisolaris, right? I mean, I'm not selling, so you can feel free to dump it on my face or something. But don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like a huge part of my portfolio, right? It is what it is. But I still consider to be a value farm. And one thing I want to talk about is, Arthur Hayes, and this is also like me thinking longer term, right? So he essentially published this article in December 9th, and obviously Arthur was the CEO of BitMEX. But if you scroll down here, kind of see that he kind of gave us a warning, right? And I didn't follow this, obviously, but he's essentially saying that, hey, like maybe it pays to wait to allocate until like the Fed, until like the Fed like acts, right? So it might pay to sit on the sidelines until the dust settles after a March or June Fed rate hike, right? Because he's not that bullish. But for those that want to maintain their macro crypto exposure, maybe the coins that will outperform might be like Metaverse, Play to Earn, and NFT related, because the success of these themes do not hinge on global monetary conditions, but an actual change in behaviors of actors whose lives can be dramatically improved by adopting new forms of technology, right? And you can kind of see this. There's a football player. His name is Eric Ebron. He does not care about DeFi, right? Like, I mean, he's tweeting about like the playoffs right now, but he's playing DeFi Kingdoms, right? And I'm sure he was upset when the Harmony chain went down. And then he's like, what? Like, I thought this was supposed to be a game. Like, why can't I play the game? So I think it's important to kind of track these things, right? And kind of think about the market in this way. Maybe the things that outperform for the next few quarters are going to be like the Metaverse projects. And don't get me wrong, majority of Metaverse projects are super overvalued in crypto, right? It's kind of ridiculous. But even Near, right? I think the strategy for Near, at least in 2022, is to bring liquidity onto their blockchain through DeFi, right? Through incentive programs, get the liquidity on Near, on Aura, through DeFi, and then once the liquidity is there, right, and then start launching a few of these games. So I'll link this in the description below. But Human Guild is kind of like an accelerator for Near games, and he kind of Alexander, I guess, I don't know how to say his name. He kind of goes over this, right? And obviously he's a European guy. A bunch of European people don't have like a strong following on Twitter. So I think it's important to look at what's happening outside of the US, right? Definitely, for sure, right? Because crypto is a global industry. So let's kind of go over Jewel, right? And this sell-off has been pretty crazy. I mean, Jewel was like doing so well, and I think there's one of the reasons. So I think one of the reasons Jewel sold off so hard is purely based off of like portfolio rebalancing, right? Just because people that held Jewel, that were farming Jewel, they were just up so much, right? And I think I guess at this point, right? At this point, people were so overweight Jewel, right? Like maybe like someone started by allocating 5% of their portfolio into Jewel, right, as a gaming play, but maybe it grew to like 20-25%. I mean, that kind of happened to me, right? It grew from like low single-digit percentage point in my portfolio to like high 20s, right? I think hit like 30% at one point. And the thing is, like in these liquidity events, the thing that's easiest to sell are assets that are just like overweight in your portfolio, right? Just because you want to take risk off. Even if you're bullish DeFi Kingdoms and it's at like 30% of your portfolio, maybe it makes sense to like lower it to like 15%, 20% or something, right? Just to rebalance. And I think it's one of the reasons it's like dumped so hard. I think the fundamentals are still strong. I will say that if they can't continue being on Harmony at this point. I don't really know what when the RPC issue is going to be fixed, but it feels like it's not going to be fixed anytime soon. Not financial advice, but I think there are a bunch of just like inefficient selling in terms of like I think most of the sellers here they weren't selling because the fundamentals of DeFi Kingdoms went down. It's just because they were overweight and they wanted to sell, raise cash, and rebalance their portfolio, right? Not financial advice, but I think it's a pretty decent entry at this point. I'm not buying them as like farming. I bought some miners and stuff. But there are bullish environments, catalysts coming, right? And this is like I said, you have to think about like later in Q1 or Q2, etc. So one of the bullish catalysts is Subnets. So this is Luigi, right? Luigi, who's the head of DeFi for Avalanche. He met up with Dreamer and Frisky of DeFi Kingdoms, and he was like talking about like Subnets, right? Like how will Subnets work? Frisky Fox is like, interesting, right? And after this meeting, Frisky was like, is this one right? Yeah, Subnets are the future of blockchain, right? I think Subnets are going to be a pretty strong catalyst, at least for the latter half of Q1, because Kevin, who's also the COO of Avalanche, he says, hey, buckle up for early February. I'm so hyped it's coming. Subnets on DeFi Kingdoms, even more, right? And And I mean, obviously this is speculation. Like it's not guaranteed subnets will be functional, but I think subnets, when DeFi Kingdoms comes to Avalanche on subnets, it's gonna be a pretty bullish catalyst. For those that don't know what subnets are, think of subnets as like an application-specific blockchain, right? So if you think about it, like DeFi Kingdoms currently lives on Harmony, right? And let's say people are getting liquidated or something, right? Markets are going down, then gas obviously goes up, right? And people that's playing the game, they'll be unable to play the game, right? Just because there's like a bunch of DeFi degens trying to pay off their loans or something, right? There's like a negative externality that comes out of just having everything live on one blockchain, on one layer. So what subnets allow for you to do is that, like, for games like DeFi Kingdoms to have their own blockchain. And I think the cool thing is that it can enable things like Jewel or Crystal to be used as gas. It doesn't have to be Avalanche, right? I mean, I'm not sure what it's going to be, what it's going to be like, but I think as long as subnets work, it's going to onboard more users. And I think DeFi Kingdoms is hitting a limit in terms of how many users it can onboard, just because the Harmony RPCs are not functional. And there's one example of a subnet here, right? I can also link this in the description below. But trispaces.xyz, it's kind of like Ethereum name service. You can like kind of claim your whatever, your name or something. I mean, I guess it's interesting. But this is an example of subnet. This is on a subnet, right? And you don't have to add an RPC or anything. So I thought that was pretty interesting, in case you were interested. So to wrap up this video, I kind of want to go over, like how to maximize sleep adjusted returns, right? I was going to make this video like a few days ago, but things were things went kind of crazy. So me making this video right now, like maybe it's not that useful, but just because I made these slides, I'll just like go over it. Because sure, I mean, in crypto, you want to maximize your risk adjusted returns, right? You don't want to just like go all in altcoins. But I think in these environments, you have to maximize your sleep adjusted returns, because if you're not getting enough sleep, then you're not going to be making good decisions. And if you're not making good decisions, then on average, you're going to lose money. So not financial advice. And like I mentioned, don't look for instant dopamine plays. Just focus on allocating for the latter half of Q1 and beyond. And I think a good question to ask yourself is, like, if you sold everything in the stable coins right now, right? Doesn't matter if you're up or it doesn't matter if you're down. Would I buy back the same amount of the coins that I do now? Right? Just ask yourself that question, because 99% of the time the answer is no. A bunch of people hold all coins, they're bag holding, they don't want to sell. And if I ask them, hey, like if you sold everything in the stable coins, would you buy back that token? They always say no, right? And then I'm like, why the hell are you holding it then? Oh, it's because I'm down so much and I don't care at this point. Maybe it doesn't matter, right? Just like your portfolio, the market does not care how much you're down, right? It's just down, and there's probably a good reason it's down a lot. And I was having a conversation with like a subscriber, and he was asking me about his portfolio, and he was like, hey, like I'm down 90% on Klima, but I'm just gonna hold it, right? Because I don't care at this point, right? It's just I'm down bad. It's like, I don't care. But he had like a few $1,000s left, right? But then I asked him, like, hey, like, too many typos, sorry. If you sold your $2,000 of Klima today, would you buy it back? No. Why the hell are you holding it, right? And he's like, yeah, you're right, right? Like, what does $2,000 mean to you, right? Like I'm not like trying to smash down on Klima by any means, right? Just replace Klima with any altcoin that's down a lot. You have to rebalance, and maybe in these type of environments, I think if I were to DCA, I would like focus on Bitcoin and Ether, just because they're collateralizable assets. And also, I mean, this is not useful. I'm not saying you do this now, but maybe in the future you can apply this strategy. I definitely didn't do this, but it's something to consider, right? Because you can hedge your positions on money markets by shorting, right? You can borrow an asset, right? Let's say ETH, and then sell it in the open market, and effectively you're hedged, right? For example, this is a screenshot of, I don't even know when I took the screenshot, but Bitcoin was 38,000. You can take one Bitcoin, right, which is like your long one Bitcoin. You can borrow, like, let's say 3 ETH, right, or whatever, and then you can sell your ETH, right, on the open market, and then you can use those stable coins to farm with, right? Because at this point, or if you do the strategy, you're kind of hedged, right? I mean, you're not like fully hedged, but you kind of protect your downside by just effectively shorting ETH, while also holding, let's say, Bitcoin or ETH as collateral, right? If you want to feel overexposed, you want to take some risk off, but you don't want to realize like short-term capital gains or something, maybe this can help with your headspace. And also lastly, research for innovation, identify projects, something that's working on something new, whether it be like a new design or tokenomics that improve on the status quo, right? Just think about like, okay, what might be big later in the year, right? Because if you're still aping into ohm forks and tomb forks at this point, then I really cannot help you. I really cannot help you. One example is like Platypus, right? So, congratulations to Luigi. He's been telling me to make this video, but I think Platypus, this is an Avalanche project. It's a stable swap protocol. I think it's really interesting. It's like it's not a fork of Curve, right? It kind of introduces a new design. Luigi's been saying he's been working on this for 8 months, and it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting actually. So we see that Platypus I think the Platypus is going to flip Curve in terms of TVL. Just because they can offer higher rates, I believe, with the new token, and we can kind of see like the hockey stick growth that they've experiencing. So what is Platypus, right? So I'm not going to spend too much time on the design. There's a yellow paper on the website, you can go through them, but it's really interesting. It kind of relies on like a liability aspect, right? So let's say for example, let's simplify things. Let's say there's like 100K of Tether, DAI, and USDC in the same pool, right? And how it works is if you want to swap USDT into USDC, it doesn't necessarily swap, right? It doesn't like necessarily convert USDT into USDC. You kind of deposit USDT into the pool and withdraw the same amount of USDC on the other side, right? So it's more capital efficient this way. There's a lot of math involved. I'm not gonna lie, I don't fully understand the math, right? It's gonna take way too much time for me to understand math to like fully, but definitely interesting design. Maybe this is more capital efficient than Curve. Who knows? It's still very early. It's the token just came out, whatnot, but very, very interesting design. And the main reason I'm most excited about this protocol is because of the tokenomics, right? So we see that, let's focus on like the highlighted aspect and below. So when PTP, you can stake it to earn vote escrow PTP, right? And how it works is that, like the amount of VE PTP you have kind of increases your APRs that you can earn on your stablecoins. And one staked PTP generates 0.014 VE PTP every hour. And, it kind of incentivizes staking, right? But if you unstake PTP, whatever VPTP that you have accumulated, it just goes to zero. So it kind of forces people to like stake and not sell. I call this Ponzonomics, right? And VPTP is not transferable, right? So you can't buy VPTP. You have to earn it yourself, which I think is a pretty interesting design, right? Ponzonomics, Taiki loves Ponzonomics. Definitely interested. You have a bunch of backers. Their tokens are going to vest at some point, and maybe they're up a lot and stuff. But from a token like protocol design perspective, really, really interesting. And one of the strategy I'm deploying right now is, just Bitcoin and Ether as collateral, right? Borrow a safe amount of dollars and farm PTP to speculate with, right? Platypus, it's went up a lot when it launched, right? Lots of hype, and then market crashed, and it's just very efficient selling here. I'm just farming. I'm not gonna buy this token, I don't think, unless like it really crashes or something. But stuff like this, I think it's important to keep track of, just so you're like aware of like what's going on, right? So I'm not saying buy Platypus, I'm not saying that, right? I'm just saying, hey, like, this is one type of research that you can do, like look for innovation. I'm farming it to speculate on. I'm not buying it, right? Not financial advice. This thing is a farm token. Right now there's no revenue share and stuff, right? So I'm kind of speculating on the future developments of this protocol, but I think it's an interesting farm, right? So looking back on the markets, not fun, right? Not fun. However, I do think it's important to think longer term, right? It's just focus on fundamentals. Think about Q1, Q2, Q3, right? Because maybe we just go sideways or down for the next quarter or two, right? And you have to manage risk, right? You have to be prepared for all scenarios. How I'm allocated is that I'm still I'm farming, right? If the markets reverse from here, then great. I know I'm farming, I'm feeling good. If the markets go down, well, it's fine. I have stable coins. I own this amount of Bitcoin and Ether, and I'm probably gonna focus on accumulating Ether or Bitcoin at this point. Maybe not Bitcoin. I think Ether or other individual projects that might tickle my pickle, let's say. So thank you guys for watching. I don't know how long this video is. Very long video, but there's a lot going on, so I think it's important to spend some time talking about how I'm thinking about the markets. If you wanna, I expect my viewership, to go down from now, which is fine, right? And it's not like I'm not running ads or anything, so it doesn't really matter to me. But for the people that do stay, I think it's this is our chance to do the research, think about fundamentals, because I can see a scenario, right, where, like most of us stay, we're doing research, and then, maybe like 12 months from now, we're like resuming the uptrend, and then people are like, oh my God, you're so lucky, like you bought things so cheap. But the thing that they do not realize is that we have to endure all these things, right? I mean, because, me personally, like I endured this, and, at this point it's kind of unclear, right? There's a lot of uncertainty with macro conditions and whatnot. But, like, I think we can all agree that, if you take a step back, think 5 years, like most of these coins, right, as long as, they're around, they're going to be worth a lot higher than here. So if that's going to be the case, then, why not, stay around, right? Why not stay around? So thank you guys for watching. Have fun farming out there, and let me know how you're navigating the markets. Let me know how let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching, and be safe out there.